All right, in this video, we are going to talk about how to solve equations with imaginary numbers. So we're going to be using the quadratic formula. We're going to be completing the square, and we're going to be taking square roots. So with the first one, whenever we want the quadratic formula, remember that it's just going to be finding my a, b, and c values and then plugging it in. So a is 8, b is 12, c is 9. And then plug it into your formula. So remember that is negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. So we have negative 12 plus or minus 12 squared minus 4 times 8 times c all over 2 times 8. Now, remember how we've talked about only putting the stuff inside the radicand into the calculator. So we're only putting this into the calculator first. So we're going to get 12 squared minus 4 times 8 times 9. And that gives us negative 144. Now, remember how... negative. Remember how negative 144 can be split up into negative 1 times 144. So that is going to be the same thing as that. And the reason why I did that is because we could take the square root of 144, that's 12. So now we get negative 12 plus or minus 12 times the square root of negative 1 over 16. And then we are going to think about the square root of negative 1, which is I. So our answer here is going to be negative 12 plus or minus 12i over 16. Remember that our final answer, we need to simplify this. So I'm going to simplify this by dividing everything by our greatest common factor. Our greatest common factor here is probably going to be 4. So that's going to be negative 3 plus or minus 3i over 4. 12 divided by 4 is 3. Negative 12 divided by 4 is negative 3. 16 divided by 4 is 4. So our answer here is going to be negative 3 plus or minus 3i over 4. Same thing with number 2 here. So I'm going to think about using the quadratic formula. Remember that whenever you're finding your a, b, and c values, like you're also taking the sign. So for b, it's not going to be just 5. It's going to be negative 5 also. So then, using our handy-dandy formula, our favorite formula, I'm just going to plug in. So then we get 5 plus or minus, and then remember, I'm just going to put that into the calculator. So that's going to be 5 squared minus 4 times 3 times 6. So that is going to be negative 47 over 6. And remember that the negative 47 could be split up into negative 1 times 47 over 6. And then we could say 5 plus or minus I root 47 over 6, because the square root of negative 1 here becomes I. And I think that can't be simplified, so you could just leave it like that. If you want to put it in 2 answers like that, that's also fine. Or if you want to keep it as plus or minus here, like I did here, that's also fine. All right, I'm not going to do number 3 because it's the same thing as number 1 and number 2. However, if you want to look at your answer, the simplified answer is going to be 2 plus or minus I root 2 over 2 for your simplified answer. Now, whenever we are completing the square, and I know it's probably been a while since we completed the square, remember that we divided our b value by 2. So that's going to be 1, and we're going to put that right here and right here. That's n squared and n1. And remember how we talked about, I want a 16 here, but I have a 1 here. So that means that this right here is going to be 15. So now I have n plus 1 squared plus 15 is equal to 0. I'm going to solve this, so I'm going to do n plus 1 squared plus 15 is equal to 0. I'm going to subtract 15, subtract 15. So I have n plus 1 squared is equal to negative 15. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. Remember that whenever you take the square root of both sides, like, you need a plus or a minus. At this point, I'm not going to split up the negative 15 to be negative 1 times 15. I feel like at this point, you should know that anytime you see a negative inside, that's going to give you an I. And then you're going to subtract 1. And that's your answer. 15, we could just leave as 15 because we can't simplify it. For number 5, we're doing the same thing here. So we're going to look at my b value here of 8. That's going to be 4 if I divide it. So I have x 4. So that's going to give me x plus 4 whenever I complete the square. I need to figure out what gets me to negative 66. So that is going to be 82. Negative 82 to be exact. So this right here is going to be negative 82. Okay. So then we have x plus 4 squared is equal to 82. I just added the 82. I'm going to take the square root of both sides. So that's going to give me x plus 4 is equal to plus or minus root 82. Now 82 is going to be special because we could probably think about, I don't know. Just kidding. 82 I don't think is simplifiable. So for number 5, it's just negative 4 plus or minus root 82. Now, you'll notice that with number 5, this one here did not have an imaginary solution because whenever I took the square root of both sides, the right side was positive and it wasn't negative. So that did not have any imaginary solutions. Okay, now number 6, I'll do this one. Divide by 2 with your b value. That's 36. I need to get to 53. So in order to do that, I'm going to do 17 here. So I need to add 17 more. This is x plus 6 squared plus 17 is equal to 0. I'm going to subtract 17. Then take the square root of both sides. So then I get x plus 6 is equal to plus or minus root negative 17. Remember how we have a negative, so that is going to be plus or minus I root 17. Then subtract 6 to get that right here. So negative 6 plus or minus I root 17 is going to be your final answer. For 7, 8, and 9, these are going to be the easier versions of what you did for 4, 5, and 6. So if you know how to do 4, 5, and 6, then you will definitely know how to do 7, 8, and 9. Because for 7, you're just taking the square root of both sides. So then v is equal to plus or minus the square root of negative 10. And that is going to be the same thing as plus or minus I root 10. Same thing with 8. So I'm going to subtract 7. Subtract 7. R squared is equal to negative 14. r is going to be equal to negative, well, r is going to be equal to plus or minus roots negative 14. R is going to be plus or minus I root 14. That can't be simplified anymore, so we could just leave it like that. For number 9, I'm going to subtract 3 first. And then I'm going to divide by 3. So if I divide by 3, I'm going to get negative 16. So then m is equal to plus or minus the square root of negative 16, which is the same thing as plus or minus I root 16. And we know what the square root of 16 is. That's going to be 4. So then we get plus or minus 4i. All right, so as a review, anytime you have a negative square root, make sure that gives us, well, that's I. So make sure that if you have a negative square root and you can't simplify the radicand, just move out the negative from the inside and treat it as an I on the outside.